Lawn Care Leaders podcast. I am your show host, Britt Dowd. I am joined today by guest Brandon Powell of Helpful Lawn Care. He's been in business for 2 years now, based in the Indianapolis area. And I'm also joined with Zachary Miller of Intentional Growth Advisors. How are you guys doing today?
Doing well.
Doing great. Good to be here.
Good deal, good deal. Brandon, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your business and what you're doing now, kind of where you've been, where you are, and where you're going.
So for business standpoint, we're Helpful Lawn Care in Indianapolis, Indiana, concentrating on residential lawn care services, mainly on the maintenance side. Been in business for 2 years. So we're young in the game of being out there. But a lot in what we did last year is not exactly what the business plan says, like what we truly want to do. But we're out there hustling, trying to make it happen right now.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. So explain to me a little bit. I mean, we were talking off air where you just said you've got a wide variety background. What did you do before getting into running your own lawn care company, and kind of how did you land in lawn care as well?
Yeah, so I mean, this might sound very convoluted, and I'll try to keep it kind of centered. You can say I might be a serial entrepreneur without a true exit. Out of college, I started a lawn care business. Had about 110 properties by myself, and loved it.
Nice.
But it was also during the .com boom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my clients I was cutting for was like, "Hey, you want to start? I'm starting this tech company." Long story short, I joined his tech company, raised money, lost a bunch of money, and then spent the next 10 years trying to get back on that lawnmower. So it's kind of like I would be in boardrooms and literally looking out the window going, "That looks like a 60-inch deck making that lawnmower. Oh, he doesn't know how to turn it right." It's like literally, I'm like, I just want to be back on that lawnmower. So took me, awesome. I think longer than that. It took me about 15 years to get back on that lawnmower. So.
Man, and I'm sure there's a huge story to go with that. That's crazy. So, I mean, real quick, if you can give us the elevator pitch on how you got out of that and how you got back into lawn care. I know it's hard to wrap that up, but
yeah, I think the last business that I jumped on was I sold advertising for a company that did magazines for affluent neighborhoods. I did that for about 8 years. I joined the company when it was at $5 million, and during that period of time, we grew it all the way up to $150 million.
So you were slinging magazines door to door and went from 5 to 150 million?
Yeah, I mean, so we were we joined the company and $5 million, and when I left it, the company was doing about 150. And I will say it was it's a beautiful thing to see something like that built to be built, and how it was able to bless not only the people who got the magazine, but the people who were actually selling on it. But the only problem that I had was that I was not able to employ people. So It didn't give me the things that I wanted to be able to go, hey, I actually want to build a business that I employ people. I give them, a true living wage. So I was able to make a great living for myself. But that yearning to be able to build something that could actually truly benefit others from an employment standpoint was not there. So I finally was like, hey, I took that giant leap and was like, I'm going to leave the security of what I had done for the last 8 years, and I'm going to get back on that lawnmower. So and try to see what we can do.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome, and I want to make sure that we address. You want to have a lasting impact on people through your business and hiring them and building that relationship, giving them a good lifestyle, and having that mission. So I want to make sure we park that and circle back to it. But so you went into a tech company, lost a bunch of money, fought your way out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Slung some magazines. Now you're back on the mower, back in lawn care. So what now? What next for you? Where are you headed now?
So last year, just getting our feet wet, I was able to hire some guys. We went out. My background in marketing was like, hey, we're going to load up our trucks. We're going to get the tools that are needed to be able to be productive. And I wanted to go out in the field with my guys, really to be like, hey, I will never hire someone to do something I've never done before.
Yeah.
So I'm intentionally going to put myself out there, but I'm also going to have this feel for it. Like I've told my guys, this is a startup. You know, I have no desire for this to be small. The only way I believe that this can actually benefit you guys is that it's not owner operator, and nothing against that owner operator world. But for me, I was like, hey, this is a startup. We're gonna go make this happen. But I also knew that I couldn't get a huge amount of clients, especially on the residential side. So we did sub work last year and we did estate properties, did homes that were $15 million, homes that were one home was $5 million. We took care of their stuff mainly because I wanted to be out in the field and actually get to know my guys. And then we were to run our business plan this year of, hey, we're going to have mow routes and whatnot. But we had a pivot right around about October of last year. So that leads me to where I'm at right now.
And by pivot, you mean kind of out of the large estate properties into more residential?
Well, out of the large estates, and then a realization on my end of going to give my guys a true living wage in this industry. Like mowing is great, maintenance is great, but I was like, lawn care is like, I get a customer and the lifetime value of that customer is like, that's great. I mean, I love that. I love that residual value of it. But it's a more of a foundational thing for me. And I can sub out some of my maintenance work to guys who are potentially owner operated, and they can actually do that maintenance side. But on the lawn care, the fertilizing and weed control, I found a true passion. Although I was trying to get back on that mower, I really like growing grass. And my guys were like, we would look at things and go, you know, what is this, that disease there, or this and that, and we would talk to the actual lawn care guys. And I told my guys, I was like, hey, I see that there's a barrier to entry to get into this one. There's education that's needed. There's different tools that are needed. And hey, how about we really let's down the maintenance side. We're going to do lawn care. And I was like, I apologize for this. And they're like, no, we're on board with this. So awesome. The pivot came about of going, hey, we're going to really stress fertilizing and weed control. We're going to rebrand the company too during the winter, and we're going to release helpful lawn care this year.
Man, that's right, awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and like you said, I loved your point about the barrier to entry. Because anytime there's a barrier, on the other side of that, there's professionalism and a skill set that is harder to attain and profit. Right. Whenever you get those skills, you get that extra professionalism, knowledge, profits on the other side of that. And I'm sure you've already seen that. So hit me with some of the details, if you don't mind, Brandon, of what amount of clients did you have last? Because it's very interesting to me. I mean, you come in, a lot of guys do it reverse. They start owner-operator, one guy in a push mower. They get to the point where they're at such a scale, they're forced out of production. You're making a conscious effort to do ride-alongs, but not necessarily actually do the production. So what did that look like last year? How many clients did you have? What equipment were you running? How many guys did you have? And then same for this year. What are you at client base now, and how many team members do you have on board?
Last year, we were 2 full-time and 3 part-time. We did a number of, we had some high-end residential properties, but we also did a condo association, and we did some, we cut 49 homes in one day, but they're really small. I forget what they're considered to be.
Like a villa, villas or something?
Like patio home type thing.
Yeah.
We did that. We stayed busy, and we cash flowed, but there was no profit in that.
Mm-hmm.
Just we're running.
And so do you have a job? Do you have a full-time job outside of this?
Nope, I don't.
Okay.
So like being totally transparent, I'm using savings. The magazine business was good. I'll go out to banks and look at, hey, can we get a loan for this and whatnot. Some people might look at it going, are you wise by this? And I go, there's a lot of people who start businesses different ways. And it's not all going to be like, I don't believe like there's a true black and white. We are carrying a little bit of debt, but I was able to keep my full-time guys on even through the winter when we didn't have a tremendous amount of work, because I wanted them to stay centered on what we were actually doing, and we spent that time learning and whatnot. So we pretty much started fresh on, hey, we have our mowers. Like we're using, right, we had a 52-inch mower and a 36 and Honda push mowers. We run a Ford F-250 and a Dodge ProMaster. And that Dodge ProMaster, we can actually get a 36-inch mower in that, and then it can go do its thing.
Oh, nice.
So we right now, I believe we're at 65 residential and a lot of cleanup work, and even we're mulching right now. So like right now, that we are making that pivot to lawn care, we have the skill set to be able to go out there and hustle and to keep our, like right now we're in, let's keep this going to give us an opportunity to be successful in 2021, because right off the bat of doing the pivot and rebranding, we got hit with everything that's going on in the world. We couldn't run our marketing scheme of door knocking and whatnot.
Yeah. Is there something going on right now or something?
Yeah, there's a little bit going on. So, well, like I'm like, hey, if we can get through this, which not if, when we get through this, like this will make us stronger, no doubt. Yeah. And if we can, like, not if, I keep on saying that, when, like I have to convince myself every day that this is going to be all right. We're going to be fine. So.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Well, Zach, and I want to make sure you can hop in here at any time. Zach, do you have any questions after kind of hearing his background and his story?
Yeah, maybe just a thought or two. First of all, Brandon, super cool story. Guys like you with that entrepreneur spirit, that creative side, that hustle, I mean, that's what makes our economy tick, bringing in jobs like that. I like your strategy here of grabbing market share. You said your goal is just to build this up, build that customer base, because like you said, it is almost more of like a subscription revenue type of model where if you get them on and you provide a good service, yeah, you may get $150 revenue per yard in 1 year, but over a 10-year span, $15,000 revenue, something like that. So I see you understand the concept of like building that base for your revenue in the future years. You said, for now you're just trying to break even. Do you have like a game plan, or do you have thoughts on how you're going to turn from more of a break even to where you're pulling in strong margins? Are you going to try to do that through, more raising prices or increasing efficiencies, or, trying to take it to that next level of your goals for profitability?
I think a lot of ours is to get our lawn care spray rig out there doing work. On our maintenance side, I am paying $15 an hour for my guys. I want to pay them more. So I need to bring in higher margin type items. Right now, we can mow to make payroll. But our cleanup work, our mulch jobs, that's why we're keeping the lights on. And the owner is going without pay until we can actually build this thing sustainable. So, that's where I'm at.
I like that. So more of like a model where you're building this base, you're gaining visibility to your company, and then the margins will be on the back end when you're starting to do more of these add-on upsell services, stuff like that.
Yeah. So, but I want to pivot us. Yeah, I want to pivot us where, like, I understand the lifetime value of a client is huge.
Right.
And I'm willing right now to invest in my guys to make sure they have the skill set to be able to do that. Like, we will get like the goal on the lawn care side, on the fertilizing and weed control. How fast can we get to that 500 mark? How fast can we get to the 1,000 mark? I don't want to I'm more focused on that little incremental of what's the first baseline other than thinking grand scale, because right now, even what we thought we could do to be able to get those clients, we were unable to do. So we're using our marketing, what can we do? But while we still have bills to pay, we're going to use the tools that we have to go out there and make it happen right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Great.
And so if you don't mind me asking this, what was going to be your door-to-door strategy? And then also when COVID hit and you couldn't do that door-to-door strategy, how are you marketing and branding right now? I know I saw you have a really slick truck wrap. I'm a huge truck wrap fan myself. Just a rolling
marketing.
Yeah, rolling billboard, man. Rolling billboard and brand awareness. So your door-to-door strategy, that got just absolutely socked, and you had to do something else. What are you guys doing now?
We had a really cool door-to-door strategy of engaging. We were using high school and college age kids to be able to center in on a neighborhood at opportune times, and this is the almost like the elevator pitch of why you should use our service and blah blah blah. We rebranded as Helpful Lawn Care, really to hey, a trendy name, bright colors. It's a marketing play.
Oh.
I could have had this really slick website done, but I did a Squarespace website. Cheap. It took me a weekend to put together. Is it SEO optimized? No, but if you go to it, it should present pretty well.
Yeah.
And then it's using a lot of contacts that I've gained of different trades, like builders, remodelers, plumbers, of just hey, anybody who knows me who in the last 15 years that I've done business here in town, reaching out to them going, truly, hey brother, help me. I need help. This is what I'm doing, and I'm totally fine with asking for help because I'm looking at some guys who have entrusted me to employ them, and they're 100% on board with, hey, this is what we're going to do. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and it sounds like you have some good subcontractors. Have you tried to leverage those relationships to maybe fill gaps in their service scope or refer business back and forth to each other?
Yeah, we're surviving on that. Of even friends who own chimney companies who are hey, they're looking when they're on someone's chimney, they're looking down, going, hey, after we're done, you might want to get your mulch done, and blah blah blah. We have a lot of guys who are referring us work, and it's been a true blessing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And what about your local network? Just kind of your sphere of influence, your friends, family, your community at church. Everybody knows that. Yeah, Helpful Lawn Care exists.
Yeah, I've cut our pastor's yard. Anybody and everybody. I think I have 4,800 Facebook friends, which I broadcast that this is what we're trying to do. I'm just anybody and everybody. I've asked to engage. And typically, I would like to do that over a coffee shop meeting and present them, but it's been. Everything's electronic right now, and we're just making our way through. So
it's awesome.
We have we have a runway, but I will definitely I'm ready to turn on that business plan full board to see what we can do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so you're sitting at, I think you said 65 residential now.
Right.
You're trying to break into more of turf management, more profit there, more professionalism. What would you say now? When you say business plan, talk about that a little bit. What is your Hey, I just wanted to jump in here real quick and say thanks for listening, and also wanted to ask a huge favor of you. If at any point in these shows you found it entertaining, you found value, it's helped you in any form or fashion, we would, love to know that and love to know how we're helping you and how we can help you more. But we'd also like to see if we could have you share the podcast. The main way that people hear about us is through
referrals on social media, and people just like you literally just sharing the link or screenshotting an episode that was one of their favorites, sharing it with a buddy. So I was going to ask you right now if you could just take 10 seconds, stop what you're doing, screenshot this, share it with somebody, a business owner, a competitor, somebody running a lawn care company that is doing big things and could get value from this. We'll put the link to this in the show notes. And if you're on Apple or Spotify, they make it super easy to share. Just hit the arrow or the 3 dots, usually in the top right corner, and you can share that through text message. So thank you guys again for listening, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Business plan, what's holding you back? What have you learned that you're going to try to kind of adjust and make sure 2021 you're soaring?
Yeah, one there's a lot of questions there. I'm trying to which one to dive into.
Well, hit
our overhead.
Yeah, I guess hit the business plan first.
Yeah, the business plan. A lot of it, we want to broadcast our story of truly what is helpful lawn care all about? What does helpful mean to us? And even marketing, giving our guys a living wage. What does that mean? The guy that I want that's servicing your yard, he actually has a lifestyle where he can be totally he's working, but he can go home and be present to his family. So this company is about giving that opportunity to individuals who that might not have been something they even thought about, and then bringing others into the industry. Who the guy who's treating your yard, actually he does well. I want to broadcast that.
Yeah.
I think if there's a lot of people who just look at the guy who's just on their yard of whatever, or anybody can do that. So a lot of our marketing is how we're actually structured on our employee side, what we're doing for them, and then on the community side of we reserve a certain amount of spots to be able to address the community who can't pay for certain things, and how we're giving back. But I want to be completely authentic with it. I don't want it just to be a marketing play. That is the company culture of giving not only to our employees, but giving back to the community, where even if we even look like a not-for-profit, but we're able to sustain ourselves without asking for gifts because we're providing a service, I'm totally fine with that. If I was not 39 years old, I would be I don't know. I feel like if I were younger, I would have more time. But at 39, I'm hey, all in. Let's just there's no time to lose. This is company culture. This is what I'm trying to do, and let's just go for it. You know?
Yeah.
So
well, I and Brandon, I love the sense of urgency, but I also know you probably have 4 decades of good work in you, my friend. Helpful lawn care could blow up after 4 decades. So that's awesome, man. That's awesome. And okay, so we said we wanted to park that there, and you kind of just brought it up. The relationship piece, giving your guys a good lifestyle, making sure that they enjoy their work, but when they go home, they're fully present. You're saying all this verbiage around your culture and giving your guys a good life. Where does that stem from? I mean, was there something at other companies that happened that you thought, okay, when I get back into lawn care, I'm going to run my company like this? Or is it your faith? If you could speak to that, that's very intriguing to me, and I think that's a great why.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like you said, why? A lot of people, what is your why? I've learned, from the boardrooms to raising money to selling advertising to watching my friends build a business from 5 to 150 million. Some money to a certain extent, I think it says after $70,000 a year, happiness is there's a threshold right there. And I'm okay, so money's not everything. And I think only sometimes you hunt for it and you're when you obtain something, you're it really isn't. So there has to be a lot more to that. And mine is, I think God has instilled in me a skill set of being able to, I want to employ people who They might didn't go to college. They might didn't even finish high school, but I think they deserve to be able to enter into the trade. And I consider lawn care and landscaping a trade base. And I want to be able to present this to them, going that with your hands, you can actually feed your family.
Yeah.
And you can have that lifestyle that you didn't even think was attainable because you didn't even know what questions to even ask. You didn't know.
Yeah.
So let's walk you through that. And the only way I can be able to do that is to be able to, on my side, up on the lawn care and landscaping side, what is high margin? What is it where I can actually be like present with my own team? And I think we're there, but that's my why, like in a nutshell. Not trying to be all wordy, but
no, that's great. That's great.
So,
yeah, and Zach, I know your personality. I know how much you love that. If you want to jump in here, feel free.
Yeah, I just want to say, sign me up. I'm ready to go work for Brandon. Right?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking, bud.
I'm serious. Those are the kind of people, leaders like that. That's who employees want to work for. As somebody who spent a lot of time in the corporate world and then also in small business, I think that's what separates some of these really successful small business owners is that, maybe success is defined differently for them. It's more about providing a community and a lifestyle for people. And Brandon, your story is just, it's awesome. And I'm sure you're going to have no problem scaling up. People are just going to want to work for someone like that because it's so contagious. So just really enjoying hearing it.
That's awesome, Brandon. Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. Okay. So that's your why, your mission. I love everything about that. That's high level. Let's bring it in now to when we were DMing back and forth. You had some very practical questions and stuff that you were filtering through. I would love to know kind of what systems you have in place that are helping you right now, whether it be stuff around scheduling, marketing, profit analysis, and then I also want to kind of address your business plan and those questions that we were DMing about the other day.
Yeah. So as much as, and I know what I'm good at and what I'm not good at, is that like I know without execution none of this will get done. Like you can say all these things without execution, it won't get done. And I know that I'm one person trying to develop a team. And so like on the scheduling side and whatnot, I've always used CRM or hunted for one. I used one last year. Brought on a one during the winter that I thought was going to be amazing, but it was too complicated. And then I will admit, not to like pump up Jobber, but we use Jobber, and it is great. I mean, like it's the user interface is like it's intuitive.
Oh yeah,
it works.
Yep.
And it gives me the information that I need on a basic level that like invoicing and whatnot. It's great. Like it's even integrated onto our website via Squarespace and whatnot, where we look bigger than what we are, and that's just from a professionalism.
Yep.
So systems in place, we use that on our back end.
Okay.
On our front end, payroll is pretty easy. We're not huge. Marketing is me.
And are you when you say payroll is pretty easy? Are you running payroll?
I have an accountant who runs my payroll.
Okay.
And then, so I just give them the hours and whatnot, and they run it. But we keep a pretty I can go like my guys have a base, and if we hit our what we say we're going to hit, there's a bonus.
Yeah.
So and they have to get done with the route. So our payroll, I mean, like I'm not one to be like overtime and all this other stuff. Just like expect it to be able to get what you want. I want their base to be something that's a true wage that again they can be present here on when they're at work.
I know some of our, if I can interject here, I know some of our listeners are kind of wanting to dive into that. I love that. I love that model because the living wage is great and you're paying them to do a job, perform a service. Outside of that, when they add extra value, I love that you have incentives built in to reward them for that. When there's value, there's an exchange of value in the marketplace. You add value to a customer, you get paid. I love that's what you're setting up for the guys. Can you tell us some actual insights? How do you have that set up if somebody wants to implement that?
Like, I'm trying to think, like we arrived at.
So say you have a benchmark for them, but they absolutely blow that out of the water. I mean, are you paying them based off of the profits out of that job, or do you say, hey, if I ask you to do 20 and you do 22, I'm going to give you X amount of dollars per lawn that you do over the benchmark? How do you have that set up?
Right. So we're looking at it on a quarter basis, and we know that the first quarter, like, it's choppy. Second quarter, so I am an open, I believe in an open accounting standpoint, even even at a small crew. So the guys know how much we make on a certain job. They know what we need to make to be able to make profit or to just keep the lights on and whatnot, break even and whatnot. So when they pull up to a job, like, they know, like, that yard's going to have to be cut 3 times because it's really high. If I cut it a 4th time and I spend 15 more minutes here longer, I know that we're getting to the point where we're not going to make any money off of it. So, but bonus structure and everything's based upon a quarter basis on what the company is doing. I'm looking at that going, I know that they didn't, like, we have our overhead and whatnot, but I was like, hey, if we hit this mark, guys, here's what I'm going to do for you. And as we grow the company, I know that needs to be different and needs to be more thoroughly thought out. But again, like, I'm really, like, slowly teaching guys of, like, here's the business side of this. This is how much that truck costs. I mean, or when they break apart or whatnot, that was an $800 blower. So since we put the wrong fuel in there, it's gone. So there's things that I want them to actually know, so then they take ownership of it. And some people are like, that should be a secret. I was like, no, this is, or they might compete against you if they are able to go out and build their own business like what we have done here. That is a blessing to me.
Yeah.
That to me that's a success. That's not my competitor. That's that I was able to give them something that they were able to bless their family with.
Yep.
So
and that's why I love the quote. What if I train them and they leave? And the flip side of that, what if I don't and they stay? What are you going to choose there?
Yeah. I mean, so we have an open accounting standpoint. So.
Yeah. Can I jump in here real quick, Britt? Brandon, that's really interesting because that's something I kind of push for with my clients, is more of that, like, open books policy for employees. And you get a lot of pushback sometimes from owners and people on that. But I'm just trying to visualize it. What kind of routine do you get on? Is it kind of like a monthly meeting where you sit down with your guys and kind of go over the monthly financials, or is it kind of job by job based, or just kind of ad hoc, hey, we made money, we didn't, and then kind of their receptiveness to it? Did you really have to push them to be interested, or was it kind of something they naturally just gravitated towards?
Right now, it's more on a weekly basis because with our rain and whatnot, like, I want them to be centered in on exactly what we're trying to do going into the week. Here's the jobs, and if we don't do this, we're not going to make, like, we're going to be behind. And if we get behind, it's going to keep on going. We're still a small crew, but I don't even know how to say this. Like, again, I keep on saying, I am blessed to have a number 2 guy that is awesome. My first employee I ever, like, hired, awesome. I don't consider him to be an employee. Like, to me, he is, like, he knows. I was like, dude, you will know everything I know. Are you all right with that? And he's like, I'm totally fine. Just feed me more. And this might not work if I didn't have him. They even gave me the confidence of going, someone's receptive to what I have to say.
That's awesome.
And I will say, like, on a business standpoint, for listeners and whatnot, we right out the gate, if you don't have a credit card on file with us, we won't service you. And, like, we bill you when we leave, because I had to teach the guys about cash flow. And I was like, cash flow is everything. They're like, what is cash flow? I was like, if we don't have to run to a bank, and I don't want to run to a bank. And if someone doesn't want to pay us, we are their bank. And they had to understand that. And it's the best feeling to actually see someone go, I didn't know that's how the world works.
Yeah.
And then they will look at a client going, like, when they ask for payment, and the client goes, well, or can you invoice me? And they're like, no, we only, like, as we discussed, we have to have a credit card on file. We're going to bill that credit card for this amount. If you would like us to break it into 2 installments, we can do that. So they know the routine, and they know why they're doing it is for that we can be able to fulfill our mission. It's not, and I'm very also like, guys, this is how much I want to pay myself. So I want to be able to provide for my family. So here's what my pay is going to be, and here's what your pay is. And so, like, everyone knows, and there's no secrets involved. And so then they're on mission. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Brandon, that's huge, bud. Cool. That's huge. I mean, you know what I love about you is, like, number one, like Zach's with Intentional Growth Advisors, the fact that you're being intentional about everything in your business, and you're building scalability into every layer, from how you close the sale, and from day one, you know, you're not in production. You want this thing to scale, all the way down to how your cash flow operates is scalable. I absolutely love that. Don't you, Zach?
I do. It's absolutely incredible that you started the business like with those structures in place. And I just, the buy-in systems you created for your employees, you know, it's hard to put a quantity or a finger on that, but all of these things you've built in, from the open books to the bonus structure to the weekly meetings, like, you are creating this team of, like, everybody kind of thinks as an owner, and that is your ultimate goal. You know, everybody feels like they have a piece of the pie. And when you teach them these accounting, you know, the accounting systems and stuff, like the cash flow, like, accounting is how we keep track of winners and losers. It's how we keep score of the business. And so when you shine that light to those guys, all of a sudden they're like, oh, this is how we kind of keep score of how we're doing. Like, it can be life-changing for them, not only as an employee, but for their, you know, their own personal finances. Like you're impacting their lives in so many ways. So really cool.
And I will say, I got a lot of this from the things that you have on your podcast. I was like, this is how you do it? Okay, let's take this part. Or, like, you know, like, I was like, hey, you know, like, he's been in business for this amount of time. Okay. Like, and I was like, you're sharing information that actually takes it from a guy like me who's jumping into it later in life. Like, I'm actually able to build something, and, like, we're just trying to avoid from the pitfalls of what others have done. So this is not, like, these things are not from me. It's from, like hearing you guys, like, just spread, like, here's knowledge. And if you're able to eat it up and execute off of it, you know, it's
Brandon, that means the world to me, man. That means the world to me. And that was the impetus for the podcast. So cool, man. Cool. Well, I'm proud of you. I'm proud for you. I know you're going to kill it, and I'm for sure happy you're not in the boardroom looking out at a mower. I'm glad that you're standing beside them.
You made that wrong turn. It's raining. Oh, don't. 3-point turn. 3-point turn.
Exactly. So, I can just hear you, like, a knee-jerk reaction yelling out in the boardroom. They're like, Brandon, do you have something to say?
No.
So here's what I want to, and I know we've touched on so many different topics, but I want to give you the opportunity, if you want. I don't know how much you want to share or want to go over, but on the DM that you sent me, you kind of had your business plan laid out. I didn't know if you had questions around that. I know you had the total revenue mark, all your technicians. If you had questions for Zach and I that you want to go over, I can even speak to, like, hey, here's how much each guy is probably going to do. Maybe here's how much you need to get to on the lawn program. I would even like to know all the way down to the minute details of, like, how is your lawn program set up and how many apps are you doing, so I know how much revenue each technician is billing for.
So I can say, again, I should all back to that. I don't know what is needed to be able to execute this truly in the right way.
Yeah.
Like, I wish there was a book and I would read it over and over again. So initially we went out the gate going, hey, we're going to have this 4-step essential program.
Yeah.
And then it might have multiple apps built into that 4 visit. And maybe that's a differentiator. And then as I got into it more and got the training and the certifications, I'm like, I'm not sure we can be able to do that. And so and being completely transparent with COVID and everything else that came on, our spray tank getting to us late in the season.
Yeah.
I outsourced our first treatment to our clients. So we sold a number of clients on what we could do, but I had to outsource it because we were not set up to be able to do it. So
Understood. Well, I can help you with that. No problem with that. I think you have a little more warm season grass than us, but in general, it's going to be the same program. So I will send you what we do, how our program's lined out. I'll email it to you, and I'll send you just our app ratios, everything else. Also send you our pricing. We're set up to we do 6 visits, and then we do 8 treatments, because on one of them we do grub control. On another one we do nutsedge spray as well. And I'm pretty sure you have that issue. But, I mean, you want to talk about profitable. When you show up for round 3 and you're double billing, and round 4 and you're double billing, and listeners, don't get this confused. We're not screwing people over. Like, we're still adding value with a grub treatment, but it is super profitable when you send one guy in one truck to one neighborhood and he does 10 stops and he bills for 20 apps instead of 10. It's just extremely profitable. I would say, like, just looking at it, looks like you wanted to do 625,000 as your revenue mark that you would like to hit.
That's like our first, how fast can we get to that type of concern?
Yeah. And you're saying like 1,750 properties. You'll do a lot more revenue than that. If you have 1,750 properties for all signed up on lawn program, you're gonna be pulling in more revenue than that. Your technicians, you said servicing 5 techs at that number. And Zach and I will be able to give you really, really detailed insight at the end of this year as we run a full year of spreadsheets. But in general, your guys should be doing anywhere from 17 to 25 apps per day. And that's going to be kind of gauged off of you personally, what you want. If you want to give them a super good lifestyle and hover around lower margins, 17 apps per day is a good number. But they can pump out 25. And I know a lot of companies in the Kansas City area, they say, like, hey, don't come back unless you've billed for $1,000. That is just a good rule of thumb to cover all your overhead, cover all the product cost. I would say let's aim, like, as you start to look at this stuff, aim to have each technician doing around 350 to 400 properties. So at your mark of 1,750, if they were only doing 350, which 350 is a really good lifestyle, that's 5 technicians. And then here's the only thing that I would switch up on kind of your projections. You had 5 technicians. You had the owner's salary. That's fine. Office manager, super smart. I would love to do a podcast just around that, because people are so afraid of hiring an office manager. And it's like, that is the lowest salary that you're going to pay, and it is going to make the biggest return on investment and keep you sane when you go home to the wife and kids. Okay, so 5 technicians is great, but at that 1,750 mark, I would still have your operations manager at least 50% in production, if not full production.
Yeah.
And then
so part of that.
Yes. And that went, and I'm not telling you something we haven't done there. We actually did that. So I have my general manager right around that client mark. He still did a full-time route, but he was also my quote unquote team leader. So he was in charge of the other 5 technicians and our tree shrub guy, and he still had a full route. And yeah, he was busy, but he got paid for it. And then we were able to slowly phase him out of production this year to where he's kind of got the odd job. So anything that needs help on tree shrub, quotes, guys break down, he still does some production, but he's very heavy operations manager now. Let's see here. Sorry for the awkward pauses. I'm actually reading your DM.
And I think you're a very high level, like, what do you think?
Yeah. And you're saying, what do I think on the whole business plan?
Like what I sent you was, I mean, it's not very basic in nature.
Yes, yes.
So your input it's invaluable.
But I think it's doable. The main I guess the main variable, the thing for you is going to be, I would love to just know more, because you're very, I can just pick this up right away. Very bright, very well spoken, very detail oriented. The only thing that is going to keep you from hitting this is not doing enough forced action in a small amount of time. Because I speak about it all the time on the podcast. We're in lawn care. We get to sell year round, but people only care about us for 3 months. So what I'm concerned about, you don't have any problems. You're going to be successful. But to get to that mark in 2 years, 3 years, whatever your goal is, I want to know, what is your plan to do as much forced branding and marketing action in a small window as possible. And for us, we've put in a ton of time on print materials, going door to door. We put in a ton of time on social media, but you're going to have to know those numbers. I can send you those as well. I mean, we get a 1.25% return on all of our print materials that we leave on the door. And we do it because we have 10 little adjustments that are minute, but it makes a huge difference. And so that's what I'm wondering and maybe worried about for you is, well, do you know those numbers to be able to hit it? How many brochures do I need to get to? How much social media engagement do I need to actually convert the sale?
And that's what it took us off our base right there when COVID hit. Mm-hmm. We were primed and ready. We were going, hey, we're ready to knock doors. Now we're gonna do this and everything. And then suddenly it was I was like, so what does this mean for our 2020 business plan when we cannot get out there and make it known who we are?
Yeah.
And then you sit back and you go, but can I buck the system? Can I sell all year round? Can I do it?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm not sure. Is that which can impede our progress that we don't have a business that? I'm already thinking, how do we sell aerating and overseeding? Can that be the push that gets us 2021 where we can start to see some results? Should we be thinking about that right now, or should we be trying to bring on people mid-season with some marketing plan of going, hey, your yard doesn't look good. You never thought about having a certified person on your yard, an expert on your yard. Would you do this or would you do that? Would you consider it? Can we get sales all year round? A lot of people are like, no, you can't. You have a window of time. But I was like, if that window of time is gone, does that mean that the whole year is negated? I don't know. So right now, that's why the mowers are going for us.
Yeah,
and that's why we put them back.
And that's where you've put yourself in a good position, right? I mean, you're out of production, so no, the whole year is not a big fat goose egg. You can still sell and push, and maybe it's those 3 months that you couldn't go door to door. You're getting into early summer now. This is where you start to lean on subcontractor relationships, your sphere of influence, going up, introducing yourself to business owners, making those connections, and doing that until August. If I can, I'll tell you a couple things that we did. Number one, we hit people early, getting on their radar for aerating and seeding. And we create a little sense of urgency, just making sure they know, hey, we are a small company. We do reach capacity at a certain point for aerating and seeding. So in the beginning, we create a sense of urgency. We also make sure our guys are educated enough to tell them, hey, you've got brown patch. So you need a fungicide. If you don't do a fungicide application, you're for sure going to have to aerate and seed, or that area is going to die off. So continuing education is smart for your guys. It sounds like you're already doing that. Not a great return on just going out and putting brochures for aerating and seeding in a random neighborhood. But there were 2 tricks that did work for us, actually 3. Number one is, before you do the actual aerating and seeding job, go and either door knock or canvas that area. And now they have a quote on their door from Helpful Lawn Care as you're doing the property. It sounds dumb, but most people will do the lawn, then go brochure, and then bounce. If you do it before, we've had a better return. With aerating and seeding, it's so nice because it looks so great. It's loud. The machines are loud. They're like, holy smoke, Brandon's over there actually doing something. I mean, they're absolutely tearing it up. Hey, Betty, go out there and see what Brandon's doing. Like, it like everybody loves aerating and seeding because it makes a lot of noise. It's the mechanical side of it. It's actually physically doing something to the lawn, whereas normally it looks like magic what we do. Like, oh, you killed the dandelion. I didn't even see it happen. The other thing that we do, we did two things with our schedule. When I wasn't super busy, Brooke and I like tweaked around with so many little things, but we would always aerate as many lawns as we could on Saturday. So I know it sucks for your guys' schedule, but give them Monday off, whatever day they want off, but everybody's home. And
yeah, they're home.
Hopefully, right. Lord willing, COVID's lifted by then. If COVID's not lifted, screw it. Everybody's going to be home anyways.
Right.
The other thing we did was sometimes I would start a little later, and I would front load all of my mowing, landscape jobs until about 3:30 when Mama got home with the kids. And then I would do all of my aerations from 3:30 until dark. And that way, those two things just maximize the amount of exposure that you're getting while you're in the neighborhood.
Right.
And that just a couple things that helped us, because on aerating and seeding, if you find print materials or some little trick that works for canvassing, let me know, because we haven't gotten a huge return out of those.
Yeah, like I've been really like, do you develop a full blown canvas model where do you have people who just canvas for you? I mean, I've like even the plan I gave you, like we didn't put aside like a full bore marketing budget.
Yeah.
So
100% you need to do that. And sorry to interrupt, but the way we have set it up is we've made our guys run it like their little micro business. So yes, they have to do production, but during that marketing season, we also require them to attract, convert, and actually close the sale and deliver the service. And so that's kind of the way we've packaged it in the beginning, and it's helped us from having to hire outside canvassers that may not be reliable or hire just one sales guy. And we have them hit certain benchmarks, and those benchmarks are based off of what do I want to hit next year as a revenue goal, and then how much money do we want to make, like as a percentage of the profit. So if I know at a 1.25% return, I want 100 clients, I know the exact number of brochures that my guy needs to be putting out in that route. And so then we just back into that. We say, okay, this guy needs to put out 10,000 brochures. Well, then how many is that per month? How many is that per week? How many is that per day? And that's where he gets his daily action steps. But yeah, we do that for every guy. I will tell you, I have burnt our guys. I've worn them to a frazzle on this. So we're going to try to give them a better lifestyle, and we're going to be hiring what we're calling seasonal recruits. And so we're going to bring these guys on board. They're going to be doing ride-alongs. So they're going to do in-office training, but they're also going to be doing ride-alongs with our existing technicians. So during the ride-alongs, they're getting trained. They're going to come out of this trainee program as a licensed technician. But while they're with that guy, they're also going to be putting out brochures. And so our turf route manager is going to make a little less commission, but he's not having to do the work. So that's one thing we're going to try next year.
Well, can I jump in real quick on that, Britt?
Yeah, go for it.
Because I got an inside to kind of see it through your business this year. With Intentional Growth Advisors, we worked with Britt and Green again, and what you did is like in November and December, I mean, you just hunkered down and went through all of these goals and hashed out all the details like you're throwing at Brandon. Before the season started up, you said, I want this number of revenue. I want this number of employees to go with that. And And it all starts with revenue. That's kind of your goal. And then everything else falls into place. But you took like a really concentrated effort of setting up these systems, tracking all of your materials. Like, you know exactly the dollar amount you spent on materials, the return on that. And then it makes it a lot easier for you to get to your revenue numbers if you know your exact return on materials, stuff like that. And so I saw you make that concentrated effort, and it paid off, because as we go now, you're tracking all of this data. You know exactly, pretty close to where you're going to be as you're sending out these materials, and it's really paid off here, even with COVID.
Yeah. There's a sense of comfort that data brings, that when you don't have it, you're just going off a feeling. And I'm going off a feeling right now. That's why I reached out. It was like, I need some, how do you develop, like data is the only way that I can actually systemize and actually execute. Like, I can have all this drive, but without that data and like me reaching out to people who can actually help to be able to build the systems in place. I mean, like, we're running blind, and I owe it to my guys again of me making those calls of, hey, I need help. So.
I couldn't have said it better. It does give you clarity. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, you're right, Britt. That's kind of what we teamed up on. I mean, we looked at your business and we said, okay, week by week, we know you're making some money and you want to grow, but how do we quantify that? How do we track that? So that when you go home on a Friday night to hang out with your family, you're not stressing about if you need more customers or if your revenue is going to be this, because you know your data. You know if you hit this goal, you're going to be fine. Your employees are going to be fine. And so that's kind of that comfort, like you're saying, Brandon, that the data brings you. But it does take a lot of tracking to get there. It takes setting up systems. But once you're doing it, once you're in this routine, like I've seen with Britt and his people, it just comes natural. It's just a part of what you're doing. It's not that much of a hassle.
Yeah. So,
that's good stuff.
But again, it all plays into like an open book accounting model for us, and giving people like ownership of their job and basically of the business. So,
That's good. Yeah, Brandon, I will. I'm happy to help you out, and I'm an open book as well. I have no secrets. I mean, we're all out here doing the same thing. We're all trying to do it better. So if I send you my program, our pricing model. I have a spreadsheet that lists our actual cost of goods sold and our ratios. I'm happy to share all of that with you. So, well, before we wrap up here, I mean, do you have anything you want to add, Brandon, or any further questions?
I will, like, just to your listener base, like, I think we live in, like, this is a great industry. And then even when we're mowing out there, I hope people like learn, like I believe it as a craft. Yeah. I actually don't think anybody can cut grass. We're like teaching guys like how to do it, where you pull away from a property and you're like, man, these hands, the skill set was able to make someone happy, give them a peace of mind. I mean, my guys thrive off of that, and I just want like just people across the board of like love on people and do a fantastic job, and a lot of these things will work out.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's a huge point, Brandon. And I think a lot of guys that get into it or say they want to do lawn care, quit their job and start a lawn care company. In the beginning, they kind of talk to their families like, ooh, well, I'm going to start a lawn care company. And there's a stigma around it. And I think you're exactly right. We need to stand up and be proud. It's a happening industry. It's a growing industry. It's fun. You've got the immediate satisfaction and gratification whenever you make a lawn striped up, you edge it well, you fertilize it.
Green.
Yeah, exactly. exactly. And you can be proud of your work. And I think the green industry needed to hear that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And Brandon, your story is amazing. You're going to be an inspiration to a lot of our listeners. I know it. Zach, I appreciate you hanging with us and giving your insights. And I know our audience will enjoy this one. So, Brandon, you're doing big things, man, and I hope you keep at it.
Thank you, guys.
All right. God bless, bud.
Yep.